What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Trying the Jets podcast. I'm your host, Will Parkinson, at WillPod11 on Twitter, Instagram, the soon-to-be banned TikTok, Will Parkinson F on YouTube, also Badlands, TOJ Talks, joined by founder of TOJ, founder of Badlands, host of the best subscribed Jets podcast. Everyone has subscription podcast. We'll take that.
It sounds
Joe
good.
Caporoso on a Thursday afternoon. Joe, how we doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a busy week. A lot of tweets, a lot of Discords, a lot of podcasts. Keeping them rolling.
I know you're on a heater right now. I'm in the Randy Moss Vikings jersey. Didn't mean to put out an 84 jersey, but obviously with some of the Corey Davis news, I guess I theoretically maybe subliminally knew. But we're going to talk a little offense on the TOJ pod here, and then we're going to finish and do a second home and home on some of the defense stuff over on Badlands. So if you're not subscribed to Badlands, do so. And if you're not subscribed to TOJ Pod on Badlands, then also do so.
Goes both ways.
Yeah, goes both ways. But I want to start with the Morgan Moses signing yesterday. I didn't get to touch on it yet. I know you and Connor talked about it a little bit. Actually, you know what? Let's get this out of the way real quick. Rodgers did exactly what you kind of asked him to do yesterday. This is the only thing I'm talking about with Rodgers. He went on, addressed something he had publicly addressed in the past, and there was it seems like a private conversation that went on that was leaked because he's in the running for vice president, and whatever you want to think about it, you are covered differently than just a normal football player.
Yep.
He addressed it with a tweet and an Instagram post. That's all that's all I think we were both asking for. Is there anything else we need to cover on that? I don't want to leave that out so people tell me I'm ignoring it, but
no, I'm glad he addressed it like we talked about last night. I would love for him to say, I'm flattered by the interest in VP, but my sole focus is on playing football in 2024 and put that to bed. That probably lingers for a few more days, but it was more urgent that he got that tweet and Instagram post out about that, because that rightfully turns into a whole different kind of conversation. I do really hope he puts the VP stuff to bed, though, because it's just an unnecessary distraction at this point. No one wants to have to answer questions about it and have it hanging over the head for the next 2 weeks. And ideally, that lets everyone just talk about more exciting things like Morgan Moses and potentially signing Tyler Boyd and Corey Davis coming out of retirement.
Yeah,
the good stuff.
I think he won't address it until that happens, the 26th, when RFK speaks, announce it. It gives Rodgers a chance to say, I actually wasn't interested. He'll put out a post the day before and say, actually, I had no interest the whole time. I just want to support my friend, X, Y, and Z. He'll talk about it on podcast and things. And he almost hosted Jeopardy and almost was the vice president of the United States. Instead, he can go try to win a Super Bowl with the Jets, and that's his sole focus. And it puts a little extra pressure on Woody to maybe cut an extra few checks if he doesn't know if Rodgers is fully in. Because the election might determine Woody's job in 2025.
Love having the football team just tied up in every angle of the election.
Yeah. Now, they need to have one person from another party, so they have a three-headed monster. Anyways, Morgan Moses trades made official today, basically a pick swap. In the fourth round, the Jets give away one of their 500 six-rounders. It's equivalent to basically giving away a late fifth-round pick. $5.5 million cap hit. Never should have gone in 2020, at the end of 2021 into 2022. Obviously, Mekhi Becton was coming back at the time. Feels like that's probably why they let him walk. And they had George Fant. They couldn't guarantee. Unfortunately, and Fant was hurt. And so he didn't even really play that much in 2022. Kind of a mess there, right? Obviously, the way it unfolded, pretty heavy regret. He had a really good first 2 years in Baltimore. I would probably consider him like the 13th best right tackle in the NFL. Maybe he's as good as 10 on some weeks, and maybe some weeks he's maybe like 17, 18, whatever it may be. So let's just say he's a top 13 right tackle, making $5.5 million. Pretty awesome deal. It's probably the one move of the offseason where I was like, oh, they actually got creative and traded for a guy who's going to be a valuable veteran at an important spot. They've done a lot of these trades the other way, right? And we've been very complimentary of Douglas on the Darnold and the Adams and all those trades. It's one of the first ones where I was like, oh, okay, you got creative here. Is that kind of the same takeaway you had?
Yeah, it was a good move. I think it's been easily their best move to date so far this offseason. It fills a need. It does it in a cost-effective way. It's a good, reliable player, and it gives them a lot more flexibility for the rest of the offseason. It was a move they needed badly. The Simpson signing is just kind of cleaning up the Lakin mess, and I don't want to call it a lateral move because I do think he'll be better than Lakin, but it's not like a radical improvement. Like this will be that, and you know what you're getting with Morgan Moses. He's comfortable playing here. You saw some of the players like reacting to it and happy that he's back. So I think far and away their best move of the offseason. Now they need like one or two like that. And I think we'll be in pretty good shape. I mean, they're getting there. That was the first one where we're like, okay, like you said, a little outside the box. It was very positive.
So Diana Rossini and Zach Rosenblatt reporting the Jets have made Alan Lazard available in trade talks.
Yes. Yeah. Now who's going to trade for going to trade for him and who's going to trade for Zach Wilson?
Yeah. So great news as we hop on the pod here. Look, it's nothing against Lazard. The contract made a ton of sense. It was a good way of getting Rodgers. It hasn't worked out to so far. The contract's pretty manageable. If a team were to take him on, it would suck for this year. But going forward, there's pretty much no money after, if I'm not mistaken, after 2024. And if a team takes him on, they can restructure him if they want to. It just kind of seemed like he tuned out last year after about week or 3 or 4, lost confidence. No Rodgers, whatever it may be. Pretty much after that Chiefs game, it felt like a couple of those guys, a couple of those vets were like, yeah, I'm good. I don't know what they get for him. They're likely going to have to do what they're going to have to do with Zach, which is either eat all of the money and get a pick. They're either going to have to maybe it's Lazard and a 7 for a 6th rounder in 2025, and you just basically eat half the money this year. You've signed Corey Davis with what he would have had the other half. I don't think they can have Lazard and Corey Davis. They're so redundant, and like it's kind of a waste to have Brownlee and Lazard and Davis. It's like, dude, like how many 6'3" blocking tight ends that aren't super fast you're gonna have? I mean, receivers you're gonna have. If they are able to trade Lazard, it kind of shadows into Corey Davis a little bit. I'd love to see Corey back. I'd love to see Corey back though as a wide receiver 3, kind of that more strictly outside guy that can be, especially on early downs where they can maybe run a little bit bigger personnel, run the ball downhill and that power run stuff. Connor was talking about a little bit of yesterday's show. If Corey Davis is your number 2, a year out of football, entering an age 28, 29 season where he struggled with injuries and drops with the Jets, then I'm not so, excited about it. I know he's well respected, well loved in the locker room. That's all fair. I hope they bring him back. That said, again, it needs to be like 1 year, $3 million with upside to get to 8. It's not 1 year, $15 million. Here, you were a good soldier, Corey. We're going to I don't want to be harsh, but it is a business, and that's just the reality. Like, they can't afford to be paying Corey Davis as their wide receiver too. Am I being a dick here? Like, I don't like. He's a good player, but he's not even when they signed him.
Yeah, we don't have to go too crazy about Davis. You could get him back on low money, and it's a simple 1-year deal, and you're tempering the expectations for his role. He's better than Lazard. Like, you'd want Lazard in that spot like that. That's like a sour milk trade. And if they could just get rid of him, like you just cut bait and go. Buy over. It was a mistake. Maybe has more success somewhere else. Davis slots right back into that role where he can be a complementary piece. He's not a full-time starter. You still need a legit guy opposite Garrett. But, if you have Corey on better money than you had Lazard, he's not a perfect player. He's going to struggle with drops and mental mistakes here or there. But he'll be physically tougher and better on contested catches than Lazard was. That's an upgrade. And they're still also doing their diligence, it sounds like, around Boyd and around Odell and around Mike Williams. I would like Mike Williams and Corey Davis, or Mike Williams and Boyd, or Mike Williams and Odell. Like, keep going and keep building the depth and push these guys to the right spots on the depth chart to round it out. In a vacuum, no problem with Davis coming back. Just don't bring him back as wide receiver 2. And let's see what the money looks like. If they can move off of Lazard, and again, it's like, I don't like giving too much credit for cleaning up your own mess, but there's some credit given to being like, you know what, like, Lakin, you're gone. Lazard, you're gone, and keeping it moving.
Yeah. Just looking at some of their reactions, everyone's like, oh, what can you get for Lazard? It's like, dude, if anyone even takes that contract on, the Jets would save $10 million post June 1. I believe they save about $3 to $3.5 million if they trade him now. Look, it is what it is. It's one of those situations where you bite the bullet. Look, the Jets, you never really hear Saleh say much in pressers. The fact last year, post one game, he basically was like, we have this guy for a year and a half more, and then he's out of here on a 4-year deal. Like, you just don't hear that type of stuff often. I wanted to just get back. We got distracted there. That was a fun little live bit. That will definitely be getting put on Twitter. When it comes to Moses, I want to just talk a little bit about what it means for this offensive line and kind of what it means for this team. As we sit here again, it's 5:30 on Thursday afternoon. We'll hop back on if something else changes. But Right now, it kind of looks like it'd be slotted in as if the season starts today from left to right. It'd be Simpson, Tittman, AVT, Moses, which is a solid group. Definitely way better in the run game. All four of those guys, I feel like, are better run blockers than they are pass blockers, generally speaking, which is fine. I'm not. This is not like reporting anything. This is just stuff I've heard for weeks. There definitely is smoke with Tyron Smith. Whether they get him or not is a different story. I've heard as much as they have the strongest offer on the table, or they plan to at least they have interest in Tyron Smith, and I think there's probably some mutual interest. I'm sure if the money's right, if the market goes as such. Jason Fitzgerald on the pod a week ago, I guess, said basically don't expect Smith to sign in the first 48 to 72 hours. Let's see the market. I'm sure he wants like what Trent Williams got 2 years ago at similar ages, similar guys that had other, injuries and things like that. The Jets are not giving 5 years, $135 million, whatever that crazy contract was to Trent Williams, although it's probably worth it for the Niners. I still expect him to be a Chief, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but if, let's just say, hypothetically, if he signs with the Jets, him or Bakhtiari feels like one of those two guys will be the opening day of camp starting left tackle for the Jets.
I agree.
Yeah. The difference, though, I will say before I want to see your opinion on this. If it's Tyron Smith, I don't think you have to take an offensive lineman at 10. If it's Bakhtiari, I still think no matter what, you have to take a guy at 10. Maybe that's now Fontenot, like maybe that changes it, or maybe it's somebody else. I just feel like Tyron Smith's security is like he'll play 13 games, and you can have Carter Warren, Max Mitchell, somebody play 4. Bakhtiari is like, you hope you get 6 games, and if he gets anything more, you're like thrilled. Is that kind of how you feel about with the draft and this free agency shuffle a little bit?
Yeah, look, if they're paying Tyron Smith, it's going to be bigger money, more involved money than what they would pay Bakhtiari, who I think will be paid a little more like a flyer. So, with Smith, like, despite some of the risk, you're going to assume he's going to be your starting left tackle for the next 2 years. That's probably going to impact how you handle the draft. And it gives you more flexibility because you can say, you know what, like, we got Smith, we got Moses at tackle, we got AVT and Simpson at guard, we got Tittman at center, Max Mitchell and Carter Warren and Wes Schweitzer are our top 3 backups. Like, great, fine. We'll see how the board breaks, but, now can we take Brian Thomas? Can we take Ndunze? Can we take Bowers? Like, they can look at more options and be more flexible if they do that. With Bakhtiari, still probably slightly more likely to happen. Probably wouldn't sign until after the draft. You just feel like there's a little more risk there, and that investment is probably more like your quota. Like, you're going to be the day one starter, but we're also planning that we're probably going to have someone else start some games. So I think Tyron Smith has them looking more playmaker in round 1, whereas I don't think Bakhtiari. I also think, like, with Bakhtiari, like, if they don't sign Tyron Smith, I don't think they move on Bakhtiari until after the draft. I think they wait and see how the dust settles draft weekend, and then they would make a move for him.
Yeah, it's just funny. Like, nothing funnier to me when I just watch people like assume Zach Wilson or Alan Lazard has any value other than like attaching a pick to them and hoping someone just takes on those deals for a 2025 7th. I agree with you. The one fun scenario before we kind of wrap here and we'll transition over to the Badlands pod, talk a little defense and some of the holes there. The one fun scenario is they sign Tyron. You could still sign Bakhtiari because let's be honest. Like, you're hoping you get 17 combined out of those two, and you'd have an All-Pro left tackle. Which is, maybe like that could, as crazy as that sounds, that could be a real thing where Bakhtiari is like, I want to just be here. I want to play another year. I want to be around Aaron for the year. He's my best friend, X, Y, and Z. Whatever it is. Like, again, it might be a crazy thought. I'm just saying, like, it's not as crazy as I guess it sounds. Then it gets into the conversation where it's like, are we trading up for a receiver? And I know this sounds crazy, and I know it's probably not going to happen. But, like, Atlanta could easily trade back and still take an edge rusher at 10. They'll still have the first edge rusher off the board, likely. I don't know. Do you jump Chicago and you get one of Rome or Neighbors, that whatever guy falls, and then you're like Garrett Wilson, Rome, Brees, Conk, Corey Davis. Like, okay, now we're in like a pretty damn good group that's all relatively young outside of probably Corey and Conk's going to be probably get extended at some point. Like, I don't know. To me, getting one of these left tackles, ideally Tyron Smith. I know he's 33. I understand he was a second-team All-Pro player last year, and his injuries are like 3-4 games a year at most. Plus, it would increase the value of a Simpson because I feel like then you trust probably Simpson more next to a Tyron Smith. It's probably Bakhtiari. I'm just saying, if you can try and away with Smith, you open up everything at 10, trading back, trading up, staying at 10. Maybe you still take a tackle all along. It'd be nice to go on a draft night and go, I honestly have no idea what they're going to do here. It's kind of fun. We had that in 2022 where we were like, what happens at 4? It feels like last year we were like, they're taking a tackle, and Rich Cimini is the only person that said before. Credit to Rich on my pod that morning was like, they're taking an edge rusher, and I was like, Rich, we're gonna have to fight, buddy. Like we're not doing that. So obviously appreciate you for listening. This will be the first half. Again, the next half will be on Badlands. Me and Joe are gonna hop on there, talk a little defense and anything else that unfolds in the next 10 minutes, which I'm sure won't because of the fact that we just said that might happen. Pretty sure everybody for listening, though. I will be back Saturday on TOJ Talks, and we'll talk soon.